vibration absorbers like the ToughNuts make a difference in the sound of your speakers? This is another video where some audiophiles will debate in the comments. Debates are always good, there's always something true to learn from, even with the bad comments. But this time I want more than opinions and guesstimates. I want to measure the results. As I'll do a full test of the ToughNuts absorbers, please help me with your comments. We'll try together to crack the code of the feet absorbers from a listener's position. Welcome to the Bast Audiophile with your host, the Bast, an audiophile. Today we test the ToughNuts absorbers. Spoiler alert, I have measured the results, as well as conducting tests using my own ears. This video follows a video by Yagi where he tested the ToughNuts product and compared them to Spark Audio and isoacoustic absorbers. The ToughNuts product arrived on top of the list, not by far, but still. It has the best absorption in the market, and the ToughNuts are half the price of other absorbers. A set of 4 ToughNuts small absorbers like mine is $150 US. It comes a total of $300 US for 2 speakers. The package came bubble wrapped. Each absorber came with a felt surface cover to prevent markings on the floor. And in my case, the package came with the handwritten letter, which is a lost art that warmed my heart. Thank you, Derek, for this nice attention. Yagi's test was good, but it's not what I'm looking for. His test was done using a vibration platform with a contact microphone on top of the equipment. He wanted to test the absorption alone of the feet, but today what I want to test and want to measure is how they sound. If you actually install these ToughNuts on your own speakers, will it sound different? And let's measure it. Here, 3 vibrations are interacting with each other. The first one is the vibrations going from your speakers in the air to your equipment, which can damage the signal. Second, the vibrations going down in the floor from your speaker and then up through your cabinet to your equipment, which can damage the signal again. Finally, 3, the vibrations affecting the speaker itself, and that causes resonance within the frame of your speaker, which affect the sound too. Our test will measure all 3. But most likely the third one, the resonance of the speaker, because absorbers absorb some of the vibration energy. So our test will try to determine, with the help of technology and with the help of our ears, how do absorbers affect the sound of our speakers from a listening position, which is the ultimate goal. Let's start now with our methodology. What was the methodology? Well, I did 3 things. I started with a test using my own ears, not to be influenced by the technology measurements. For this, I did listen to the band Engine de Poitrine, the 2 albums that they have produced. I listened to the speakers with spikes without felts, the speakers with spikes with felts, the speakers with the ToughNuts without felts, and the speakers with ToughNuts with felts. The second test I tried to do because it didn't work. I tried to use the Deckware new app for room acoustic as a test, but I wasn't able to make it work properly, so I abandoned. I think it's because I used the 9th input of my audio interface and not the first one, and the app couldn't detect the input, so that could be the reason why it didn't work. Maybe Deckware can help me with that in the future. The third test I did was to use a measurement microphone paired with REW software to measure the frequency response of the speakers in 4 different conditions. I measured again the speakers with spikes without felts, the speakers with spikes with felts, the speakers with ToughNuts without felts, and the speakers with ToughNuts with felts. I did my measurements using a Dayton Audio EMM6 microphone. I disconnected my subwoofer to have only the sound from the speakers. I did my measurements in REW using 4 swaps of 1 minute set time each for greater precision. So what were the results of all these testings? Here are the results from the technology testings. Here the yellow and orange lines are the lines of the spikes. The yellow has the felts. And here the blue and the purple lines are for the ToughNuts, where the blue has the felts. First, when we look at all the curves at once, Surprisingly, the feet of the speakers, meaning using spikes or the ToughNuts or with or without felts, it doesn't matter. That doesn't change the bass frequencies. That was a surprise. The variations in the mids and the highs are measurable and noticeable by ears, but the bass remains intact up to 100 Hz. So absorbers don't change the bass response of the speakers by much, which is counterintuitive. Also, we can see on the graph that the sound seems to be a little bit brighter with the spikes, with or without felts, in the 400 to 1000 Hz region. Also, we can see that the ToughNuts seems to be a little bit less rolled off in the 4000 to 9000 Hz region. It seems that the ToughNuts provide in that region a better performance than the spikes. Maybe because it reduces the resonance of the speakers that could cancel some frequencies. We can notice as well that the felts generate a dip in the 1800 Hz region. Both the spikes in yellow and the ToughNuts in blue with the felts have a huge dip there, which destroys the linearity of the signal. So felts are not ideal. And when I say felts, it could be your carpet. A carpet could affect the sound of the resonance of your speakers. More on that later. Starting at 175 Hz, the ToughNuts paired with the felt do tame and affect seriously the sound. This combination of absorbers and felts lower the levels and gives a sound a more rolled off in a large region of the frequency spectrum. Again on the felts, if we look at the spikes curves with or without felts, we see that the felt seems to help the spikes to get a more linear response, but still it creates a dip in the 1800 Hz region. But overall, surprisingly, I prefer the sound of the spikes with felts. So the felts help the spikes. It seems to absorb some of the resonance of the speaker cabinets. The opposite happens when you combine the ToughNuts with the felt. It degrades the linearity of the signal. And you have again a dip in the 1800 Hz region. So felts are good for the spikes, but detrimental for the ToughNuts. Now what happens if we compare the spikes with felts in yellow to the ToughNuts without felts in purple? The ToughNuts without felts seems to have a better linearity and balance. Here I must stop to say again that, in theory, the felts could be compared to a carpet. My tests were conducted on hardwood floor. If you have a carpet, it might help the sound if you use spikes. But if you want to use absorbers and your floor is a carpet, you might need to put a hardwood or concrete platform under your speakers to get similar results as mine. That concludes the results with the technology. Now, the more important results, my ear tests. Overall, the ear tests show that I don't like the sound with the felts. On the ToughNuts, it affects too much the sound dynamics and the levels. But it's welcomed on the spikes that I find a little bit too bright now that I have comparables. I agree with the measurements that the ToughNuts alone without felts show the best sound. A more natural sound, more deep, more pleasant, more controlled than the bright sound of the spikes with or without felts. But hear me here. These differences are subtle. They're not like a new set of speakers. If speakers were people, the difference between having absorbers or spikes is not like having two different people. It's more like having the same person dressed in two different ways, like someone well dressed or someone dressed with fluorescent clothes. One feels good and the other one a little bit too bright. The ToughNuts makes your speakers a little bit more pleasant to hear, but without the felts. It seems to control the possible brightness of the speakers while supporting the weaknesses of the signal. It does surprisingly boost slightly certain frequencies that were low. Maybe they were low because of the resonance of the speakers that generate some cancellations of frequencies. So by absorbing some of these vibrations, you get the signal boosted. Anyhow, the signal becomes more linear and better balanced with the absorbers. Ideally, I would have chosen the cones versus the flat ones that I have. The cones with their shape absorbs even more. It would have had the better impact on my speaker's resonance. But I was afraid of the balance of my speakers. But now that I know that the width is fine, I could have chosen the small cones. I should have insisted. Well, anyhow, with what I have, now the sound is slightly more relaxed, more natural, a bit more pleasant to hear than the bright spikes that come standard with the Totem Tribe towers. Again, all these comments must be taken like if we were looking at the question with amplified glass. Having absorbers on speakers is a small detail. A noticeable one though. You can feel the difference, but it's not like having a complete different new set of speakers. It's more like a slight difference in the sound signature. Again, it's like having the same person but dressed differently. I hope that you like this review. If you have tried absorbers on speakers before, feel free to comment down below on this video. It's always nice to learn from others' perspective and experience. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to this channel. I always try to bring something new for you, something that I can research and present with relevant results. The more unusual the topic, the better for me, as I am not really following trends. I prefer to follow my curiosity and my passion for audio. If you have a specific topic that you'd like me to cover or research for you, feel free to write it down in the comments. Also, if you'd like to take part in the making of these videos or chat with me as I make them, feel free to join our Patreon. It gives you a backstage view. On this, thank you for your time. We're looking forward to seeing you in other videos. Take care, listen to good music, and goodbye.